Back with the CJ5 project. Got it all pressure washed, got 50 years of mud and grease cleaned off the frame, so now I can start working on it a little more, getting it torn down some. Overall, I mean, the rails are solid, the cross members are solid, the rear cross member's toast, but other than that, this frame seems to be in decent shape, aside from where somebody had replaced the front frame horns with box tubing at some point for the plow mounts that were originally on this thing. But overall, it's looking like I might not have to do too much to the frame, which is a big help. The goal is to try and get this thing pretty much done this year, so kind of at a point right now where everything's kind of grounded to a halt until I get back to work full time, so I've got some parts money to spend. But can start chipping away at some of the small stuff, getting the rest of the wiring harness pulled out of it, brake lines, fuel lines, all that stuff. Start tearing the engine down a little bit, get the transfer case out of it. Then I'm pretty much just waiting on, like I said, getting back to work so I can buy an engine stand, get the engine out of the frame, finish stripping the frame down to its bare essentials, and start going from there. Measure to make sure it's square, and hopefully soon start ordering some parts. So this is what I've been talking about at the front of the frame. Somebody cut the frame horns off in front of the core support cross member for some reason and replaced them with box tubing. They're far from right. You can tell that one's pointed up, one's pointed down. They welded the bumper to it. You can see on this side they made their own spring shackles. I don't really know what is going on up here. All I know is it's got to be fixed and fixed right, because I don't really want my front end being all lopsided. So I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do as far as fixing the front portion of the frame, but this is really the only spot on the frame that I'm really worried about. The rest of it seems like it's gonna be pretty straightforward. Now there are some brackets here. There's two on each side that somebody had welded on at some point. I don't know if they had Nerf bars on here or what, but you can see this one had been torched off. I don't know what the reasoning for them was, but I'm going to have to clean those up, grind the welds to get them off. Other than that, this frame seems really solid. Just pulled the transmission drain plug. About the first quart was water. Noted. Transfer case as well. A lot of water. So after seeing all the water in the transmission and transfer case, I decided to open them up and just take a look inside. So I pulled the PTO cover off the back of the transfer case and pulled the shift cane assembly off the transmission. And really, they don't look too bad inside. I don't know how much of that water was from when I pressure washed it, because the transfer case and the transmission aren't exactly bolted together tight. But given how long this thing's been sitting out in the weather with the floorboards pretty much completely rotted out of it, I got a feeling some of it was already in there. But I've got some I took some pictures I'll throw up so you can see what it looks like inside. But overall, they're actually a little better than what I expected. So maybe maybe the 30,000 miles showing on the odometer isn't too far off from accurate. I planned on rebuilding the transmission and transfer case anyways. Just kind of I'm already here, might as well do it for peace of mind more so than it needs to be done kind of thing. It's not that expensive, it won't take that much time, and I'll basically be resetting them to brand new. So same with the front and rear ends, and I won't know how much the engine's actually going to need until I can get it onto an engine stand and start tearing into it. But as long as the rotating assembly looks good and there's not a lot of wear on the bearings and the cylinder walls, I'm probably just going to throw some rings and seals in it and freshen up some things here, give it a tune-up, and see what it does. I'm really hoping I can get this Jeep done by the end of this year, if not first of next spring at the latest, because I've got a 92 Dodge Ram that I really want to get to work on, which I was planning to start working on this year until I decided to take on this project instead. But all in all, it's looking like this thing might not need as much work as I had initially anticipated. As I said in my last video, I'm not going for perfect with this thing. It's not going to be a factory correct restoration. It's a matter of get it so it runs and drives and can be on the road safely, so I can wheel it and wheel it hard and use it for what it was initially designed for, basically. So I mean, any wear parts for the most part are going to get replaced, but for the sake of time and budget, I'm really hoping I don't have to do a full rebuild on the engine, at least not yet. That could always be a winter project down the road. So basically, I'm just going to keep chugging along at the rate I'm going. Just working on little things here and there that I can until I can actually start ordering some parts and start tearing into things, and then I'll probably get a little more methodical. But I think for now the goal is to start getting some brake lines and fuel lines and wiring out of the way so I can start to get this frame cleaned up and get it to a point where it's ready to drop the axles and be a bare frame once the engine and transmission are out. So right now videos aren't coming with any kind of frequency because, as I said, I'm waiting to get back to work full time before I can actually start buying parts for this thing. That's the only thing that kind of sucks about working construction. When paving season's over in the fall and we switch over to snow plowing, I take quite a pay cut. And with the new pickup I just bought, I really haven't had any money to start spending on this thing yet. But this week I went back sort of full-time. I don't really consider 40 hours a week full-time, not when I'm used to working 60 or 70 hours a week. But hopefully in another few weeks, paving will be back up and going again. So I'll really have some spending money, and then I can actually start making some progress on this thing. I can start going through things more methodically, like pull the transfer case, rebuild it, paint it, set it aside, transmission, axles, start doing things bit by bit, knocking it out, get to a point where I've got a lot of sub-assemblies ready to go back together. And hopefully by that point things will start going a lot quicker. So hopefully another month or so, maybe I can put videos out every week, every other week, whatever. Honestly, it'll probably be more of just when I work on it. Like right now, it's hard to stay motivated when I don't really have anything I can do. You know, if I could just start ordering parts and steel and stuff, I could just start hammering on things and get things knocked out and really go balls to the wall with it. But for now, it's just kind of looking for little odds and ends things I can do, just getting small stuff taken care of for now. So I decided I'd work on the Jeep a little more today. Got the rest of the wiring out of it. Got the clutch cable and the emergency brake cable, speedometer cable, all that off. Got most of the rest of the wiring off the engine. Got the Y pipe off, got the drive shafts out. I think at this point, pretty much just waiting on an engine stand so I can pull the engine and start stripping the rest of it. All that's left for plumbing now is brake lines. Now I managed to figure out why my transfer case wasn't bolted on tight as well. At some point, this ear had been broken off and welded back on, but the weld was never ground down enough, so you can't get a wrench on it to tighten it back up. So I don't know what I'm going to end up doing about that, whether I'm just going to look for a new transfer case or... Yeah, so I think that's about enough for today. Got quite a bit done between last night and this afternoon. I got to work tomorrow, and this weekend I've got some snowmobiles I got to work on, get those ready to be put away for the season, but coming along pretty good.